Hey everyone, in this video I'm actually going to be demonstrating to you some of the projects that my students turned in using the processing programming language. And I have some of these programs that are open off to the side on my screen, and I'm only capturing part of my computer screen through screencast-o-matic.com. What you'll see as these programs pop up in the first few examples are some sample projects that I gave to my students. So in this project, you can see that there's two people throwing a ball back and forth, but there's an issue called ghosting, where old images are left standing, and you can see that the ball, when it goes from right to left, is thrown faster than it is when it's going from left to right. So my students were given this project and asked to solve one very simple problem, which was the ghosting issue, and then to also use that as a way to animate some type of wireframe that they previously developed. So taking a look at what that might look like through some other examples, this would be an example of a basic animation without ghosting, just a simple triangle rotating around. We developed this particular program as a whole class, and then students were asked to use some of the similar ideas to make a simple animation. A different variation of that same idea is this type of drawing where there is some ghosting that occurs, but it's done with a purpose. You can see that every time the triangle rotates, there's a color change. Again, this was a freely available example for individuals within the class to utilize and remix to decide what they would use it for. So taking a look at some of the actual student submissions, one of our projects that was submitted was a student who just took a simple ball and actually programmed it so that it would bounce around a closed rectangular square. Again, the primary issue here was, did they solve the ghosting issue? Yes, but one of the interesting features is that my examples only kept track of one direction or one variable. This student actually was able to keep track of not just the horizontal motion of the ball, but also the vertical motion of the ball independently. And as a side effect, he's actually been able to model the idea of how a ball would bounce using basic physics. Another student in his project decided that he wanted to create a narrative of a ship sailing. So he originally created this boat as a wireframe and then created a skinning set where this sun right here was just a black line in the shape of a circle on a white background. He then went through and figured out how to get the water to rise and fall and basically cover up the ghosting issue, because if it were to ghost, we would not see the water rising and falling at all. We now have another student, and his particular program was originally conceptualized as a basic wireframe. So his story that he wanted to develop was that this man was on a planet and he was looking out at a solar system, and he would see that solar system and he would be really excited about it. He then took his wireframe and added skinning to it so that he would actually have a house, a planet, but then there was still the issue of this star right here not really looking like a solar system. So what he decided to do is, in his animation, he decided to animate the star. But then in the process of doing that, he also animated the man jumping up and down. And then my last student that I'd like to show is an example of a student that, as I gave them creativity, I told them that it's not up to me to really judge what your message is in any of these animations. So he decided to make a dog out for a walk, and this house right here is actually supposed to be an alien figure. So his area for improvement is to actually develop this to look more like an alien, but then as the dog hits a certain event point in time, it performs an action. The other interesting thing about this animation is that he still fulfilled the requirements that this should be an animation that can continue to loop no matter how long it is left playing. So that's what my class has actually been able to develop using processing, and I'm really excited to see what some of their future endeavors will bring up in their next set of development phases. My current struggles that I'm experiencing with this project is teaching myself some of the same things, and where we are actually headed as a class is being able to develop objects that are animated and keep track of their own position in the course so that they are capable of adding multiple things into a storyline.